Hi guys, it's King Gabriel here with another impromptu video, and today's topic is transcending the ego. I'm going to recap last week really quickly, or the last topic really quickly, and here we go. Consciousness was all you believe and accept as true, right? So all you believe and accept as true is consciousness. This is the specific frequency that you live in. When you have that frequency, you experience certain experiences according to that frequency. If you have different consciousness, two people can be going for the same thing. One gets it, one doesn't. One person goes to a place and they don't like the place at all because the people treat them bad. Another person does it and they get treated really well, right? One person will look at somebody and have a problem with them. Another may look at that same person and love them, right? And so all of it is about consciousness, right? It's just about the frequency that we're holding, and we have experiences according to that frequency. So that being consciousness, all we believe and accept is true. We're going to talk about the container of that now, which is awareness. And awareness is simply the container in which we hold consciousness. So consciousness itself is all we believe and accept as true. Awareness is the thing that pervades it all. It's within it, yes, but it's also all around it and everywhere around it. And so in awareness we have consciousness. Consciousness is used as a tool for perception. For instance, if I was to say one, and I had one here, and then there was all this space around it, we would only be able to recognize this one because of the space around it, right? One by itself won't make any sense unless there was something within which that one could be held. So one is actually two things. One is this and all of this, and the space in that one as well. And so you see in our world, which is a world of perception, the world that we interact in and communicate in right now, that there is a need for the space. And the space is awareness in relation to consciousness, right? So let's talk a bit about transcending the ego now that we have that background, right? Awareness and consciousness. To transcend the ego, we must recognize that consciousness itself is the realm of the ego. It is where the ego functions. The ego functions in this realm because it uses magnetic forces. The magnetic forces were used to pull individuality from unity, from oneness. So from that state of oneness, individuality had to be formed. The only way it could be formed was through an intention in divine consciousness coming straight down, just like the cross comes straight down like this, and then something cuts across like this. It comes straight down like this, and in down there is the separation of the forces on the sides, in a sense, where one is repulsion, one is attraction. In that repulsion and attraction, those two polar opposites were able to form individuality, because to perceive something you must have something to perceive that something with, and the two things were enough to form this, like we were talking about before. So that's how we got one. Now I could go into this in a lot more detail, but this is just for simplicity's sake, I'm describing it this way. So the ego functions on that level of repulsion and attraction, right? So the law of attraction and all that stuff, some people may say it's of the ego. Yes, it is, but so is everything else here. Everything that we deal with in this world on the physical level is of the ego, because consciousness is actually slowed down in vibration until it becomes form. And when it becomes form, it came down, just like I said, from the intention, and then it split into the polar opposites so that you could perceive something with something. And that's the whole reason why we're able to move and interact and stuff. So really, the ego is not a bad thing. It's useful. It's just that the use, if it becomes the boss, it becomes the master, and we're always searching for more and more of the same thing, like I said in the last video, then it becomes the controller. And then we become subject to it because we're focusing our attention and giving all our energy to it. And then it becomes the boss. And then we're in a state where we feel like we're out of control, or our lives are out of control and we can't get what we want and all of that stuff. But truly, we do get what we want. It's just we're not paying attention to what we want, so we're actually getting the other thing. Right? So let me just wheel up a bit and come back in a different way, right? Awareness holds consciousness. Consciousness is all you believe and accept as true. In believing all you accept as true and holding that specific frequency, you experience and experience according to that frequency. To transcend the ego, then, is to go back to the level where you recognize that divine consciousness, right, is where you stand. Your soul is always connected to spirit, always connected to that universal consciousness. And if it takes control, and you're in that space, then what the ego does here and there doesn't matter, right? The ego swings left and right and goes really far in one extreme, and you're extremely happy one day, and then you're really sad another day, and then you're really happy another day, and then you're really sad another day. And that's just the pendulum effect of the ego using the forces, trying to manage those forces to bring you back to your center, which is kind of difficult for it because you choose to go in one direction so much, right? The only way that you can actually get back there is to recognize that you are not the mind. You step beyond that. And this is transcendence. You recognize that the soul is the one that's governing. The soul's intention. And the soul is simply the connectivity of all that divine consciousness is, and recognizing that they're one. So by recognizing that you're one with someone else, by seeing the light in them and connecting, uniting in your mind, realizing that you're one, realizing that you're connected, your souls come together, you're linked to divine consciousness. And this is why that golden rule way back in the day of love your brother as you love yourself, do unto others as you have them do unto you, that sort of stuff, that's where that's significant. Because as we unite in that way, we start seeing on a soul level and recognizing that we are everything and we're united. As we do that, well, the ego is transcended, because the ego's purpose is to bring about individuality. If the purpose of individuality is no longer needed, then guess what else is no longer needed? Exactly, the ego. And that's how easy it is to transcend the ego. It's not difficult. It's not so hard. Everyone who's in human consciousness must act from ego consciousness. So if you're doing anything on a human level and dealing with anyone on a human level, you have to deal in the ego, because that's the only way that can be done. So when somebody perceives an ego in another or judges another, instantly the ego is being used. It must be engaged, because that's the only level that can happen on. But when that person recognizes that it's souls that are being dealt with, they have transcended the ego. And that's how simple it really is. It's not a rocket science. It's nothing super duper hard or anything like that. It's just about recognizing that you are one. You are one with everyone. The greeting Namaste, the spirit in me sees the spirit in you. That right there is unity. That is union. That transcends the ego instantly. If those people are to really live in that, then yes, direct communication is happening. There is no ego in that. When they start judging though and watching on the human level, that's over with. So on a daily basis, people go back and forth until they finally decide to transcend the human consciousness and step up to the level of the soul, live in divine consciousness, and not let the ego run them. Then the ego can be used in ways to maintain, to help, to sustain, to do things that are positive. And when I say positive, I mean closer to divine consciousness. And then we're all good. And we can all do it. It's not impossible at all. It's very, very doable. But it does take effort, because we've trained it to act the other way, right? Over a long period of time. But we can undo it just as easily. Let's do it together. Eternal love and infinite peace.